This is you, sitting in a chair, scrolling through glowing pixels, maybe sipping on coffee you didn't even grind yourself. You live in a world where your biggest fear today is whether the Wi-Fi drops during Netflix, or if your boss notices that you muted yourself in the Zoom call. But zoom out for a second. Behind you stands your dad. Behind him, his dad. And behind him, another dad who probably believed bathing once a year was self-care. Keep rewinding. You'll pass powdered wigs in sweaty ballrooms, knights in dented armor creaking through battlefields, Roman sandals crunching dusty roads, hunters stalking mammoths the size of buses, and eventually, some poor ancestor crouched in the dirt chewing a beetle. His biggest goal? Survive until sundown. That guy is your ancestor. He had no clue that you, a caffeine-addicted descendant with strong opinions on phone chargers, would ever exist. If he had tripped wrong, starved in the wrong winter, or failed to charm someone enough to reproduce, you'd be gone, deleted before you began. You're not here because of luck. You are the messy miracle of stubborn biology, violent coincidences, and people who didn't die when they probably should have. You are survival's accidental masterpiece in sweatpants. So let's play a cruel game. Let's time travel back through history and rank the worst times to be born human. We'll go from bad but survivable to why even bother cutting the umbilical cord? Along the way, we'll uncover lessons that still matter today, because if your ancestors could endure these nightmares, maybe you can survive your inbox. The fifth worst time to be born, the Ice Age, when the world tried to freeze you out. 20,000 years ago, the Earth was not cozy. Forget suburbs, supermarkets, or pumpkin spice lattes. This was a planet-wide deep freezer. Ice sheets as thick as 2 miles smothered vast parts of North America, Europe, and Asia. Global temperatures plunged by 10 degrees Fahrenheit, enough to turn entire continents into lifeless tundra. Your daily routine was simple. Don't freeze, don't starve, and don't get eaten. That's it. Dinner wasn't a tap away. It actively wanted you dead. Hunting meant stalking woolly mammoths, creatures the size of school buses with nothing but sharpened sticks and stone blades. Imagine facing 6 tons of angry fur, tusks longer than your car, and hoping your pointy stick did the trick. Spoiler, it usually didn't. Shelter was not cozy either. If you were lucky, you shared a cave with 40 of your least favorite relatives.
Imagine the smell: smoke, sweat, wet hides, and fleas having the time of their lives. If you weren't lucky, you built a hut from mammoth bones and hides, a prehistoric open concept design that doubled as a freezer. And medicine? Don't even ask. A simple cut could kill you. No antibiotics, no doctors, no band-aids. Your best option was chewing on random plants while grandma muttered folk remedies. Half the time it worked. The other half, you joined the mammoths in the afterlife. Yet somehow, humans didn't just scrape by. They innovated. They learned to tame fire, craft better tools, stitch clothing with bone needles, and even paint on cave walls. Those cave paintings weren't doodles. They were humanity screaming into the void. We're cold, starving, terrified, but we're still here, and we can still dream. Self-development insight. Hardship sharpens innovation. Comfort makes us soft, but struggle forges creativity. The next time you rage because the Wi-Fi lags, remember, your great-grandparents 1,000 generations back fought blizzards with flint and hope. You were built to adapt. Subheading: Agriculture. The fourth worst time to be born. The dawn of agriculture. Humanity's awkward upgrade. Fast forward to around 10,000 years ago, humanity had a revolutionary idea. What if instead of chasing food, food came to us? No more sprinting after mammoths, no more endless migration. Let's plant seeds, tame animals, and settle down. Farming sounded like the ultimate life hack. But like every so-called upgrade, it came with cursed fine print. Problem 1? Disease. Hunter-gatherers roamed in small groups, so infections fizzled out quickly. Farmers, though? They crammed into villages shoulder to shoulder with goats, pigs, and chickens. Imagine a town where half the population sneezed, coughed, and scratched at rashes. Congratulations, you've just invented the first pandemic zone. Problem 2? Diet downgrade. Hunters ate meat, fish, nuts, and berries, a varied, protein-rich diet. Farmers lived on carbs, wheat, barley, lentils. Filling, yes, but it left bodies malnourished. Skeletons from this era show shorter stature, weaker bones, and mouths full of cavities.
Imagine tooth pain so bad it made you pray for mammoths to come back. Problem 3? Crop failure. Hunter-gatherers could always move when food ran out. Farmers were chained to their fields. One drought, one swarm of locusts, one unlucky flood, and the entire village starved together, glaring angrily at the sky. Archaeologists have found skeletons riddled with anemia, malnutrition, and evidence of starvation. Farming looked smart, but often it felt like a trap. Humanity traded freedom for stability, traded hunting for hoarding, and built permanent villages that sometimes became permanent graveyards. And yet, agriculture stuck. Despite the misery, it allowed populations to grow. It created the foundations of culture, religion, writing, and, eventually, the Wi-Fi you use to complain today. Civilization was born from aching backs, broken teeth, and desperate prayers for rain. Self-development insight. Progress always carries hidden costs. Every upgrade in life, new job, new city, new relationship, comes bundled with trade-offs.
Your ancestors didn't realize planting wheat would shackle them to plagues and famine, but you can choose more carefully. The lesson? Don't blindly chase better. Always ask, better for whom and at what cost? The third worst time to be born, the Mongol invasions, when mercy was canceled. Now jump forward to the 13th century. You're in a dusty little village, baking bread, complaining that goats keep eating your cabbage. Suddenly, you see a massive dust cloud on the horizon. That's not weather. That's not a storm. That's your 3-minute warning that your life is about to get canceled by history's most aggressive empire. Enter Genghis Khan. The man treated mercy like a bedtime story. Under his ruthless leadership, the Mongols carved out the largest continuous land empire ever, stretching from China to Eastern Europe. They didn't negotiate. They didn't do half measures. Their strategy was brutally simple. Arrive fast, strike hard, leave nothing standing. If you resisted, you died. If you surrendered, you might live long enough to regret it.
Entire cities were burned to the ground, populations slaughtered. Survivors sometimes marched as human shields in the next battle. And if you lived, it wasn't because you were clever, it was because you were lucky. And they weren't just brutal, they were terrifyingly efficient. Mongol horse archers could hit you from 300 yards away while riding full gallop. They basically invented mobile warfare centuries before tanks and drones. Against that kind of precision and speed, castles turned to rubble, fortresses crumbled, and armies melted. Historians estimate the Mongol invasions killed around 10% of the global population. Let that sink in. If that happened today, we'd lose nearly 800 million people. Imagine 8 New York cities gone. Imagine the world map redrawn in blood. Living through this era meant paranoia was your baseline. You never knew if tomorrow would bring sunrise or a Mongol army on the horizon.
You could be doing nothing wrong, just existing in the wrong place at the wrong time. And that was enough to erase your family, your town, your culture. And yet, humanity stumbled on. Cultures adapted. New empires rose from the ashes of burned cities. Ironically, the Mongols also created the Silk Road system that spread trade, ideas, and technology across continents. Even destruction sometimes leaves behind strange gifts. Self-development insight. Chaos is inevitable. There will always be Mongols in your life. Unexpected disasters, unfair bosses, sudden layoffs, illnesses that blindside you. You can't plan for every dust cloud, but you can control your adaptability. Strength isn't about being unbreakable. It's about being flexible enough to rebuild when the storm passes. Your ancestors survived dust and fire. You can survive chaos too. The second worst time to be born, the Black Death, when the air itself wanted you dead. Jump a century later, Europe, 1347. You step outside your thatched roof house and instantly know something is wrong.
The streets are too quiet. The neighbors who were singing last night aren't opening their doors. And then the smell hits you. The unmistakable stench of death drifting through the air. Congratulations, you've just entered the nightmare called the Black Death. It didn't arrive politely. It smuggled itself into Europe on trade ships, inside fleas riding on rats. Once it landed, it spread like a rumor in high school. Touch the wrong hand, share a cup, breathe the same air, and you might as well start digging your grave. The symptoms were pure horror. Swollen, black lumps called buboes ballooned under your arms and groin. Fever burned your body alive. Vomiting blood became your final party trick. And within 2 to 5 days, you were gone. Entire families disappeared in a week. Entire villages were abandoned like ghost towns. Fields of crops withered because there was no one left to harvest them. Doctors tried. Oh, they tried. They invented the famous plague doctor outfit. Long robes, leather gloves, and that bizarre bird-like mask stuffed with herbs and flowers. They thought pleasant smells would filter out the bad air causing the plague. Did it work? Not even close. But it gave us one of the creepiest Halloween costumes in history. The death toll was staggering. Between 30 and 60% of Europe's population vanished in just a few years. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing half of everyone you know, friends, co-workers, family, are gone. Society didn't just bend, it broke. Graves overflowed. Churches couldn't keep up with funerals. The economy collapsed. Fear itself became as deadly as the bacteria. And yet, humanity survived. Out of the horror, some progress crawled forward. Cities invented quarantines. Sanitation became more than an afterthought. Medicine started inching toward science, fumbling through the dark toward a better understanding of contagion.
The world was gutted, but the seeds of resilience were planted. Self-development insight. Fear spreads faster than truth. Panic kills more effectively than the problem itself. The Black Death teaches us that resilience isn't just about not dying. It's about refusing to surrender to fear when the air feels unsafe. You can't control every risk in life, but you can control your reaction to it. Strength isn't the absence of fear. It's standing tall when fear whispers in your ear. Toba. The #1 worst time to be born. The Toba supervolcano. Humanity's almost game over. Now rewind 74,000 years. Location, Indonesia. The Toba supervolcano erupts, and the world nearly loses humanity in one apocalyptic blast. This wasn't just a big boom. It was an extinction-level event in slow motion. Toba launched nearly 670 cubic miles of ash into the atmosphere, enough to bury the entire United States in soot.
The skies went dark. Sunlight struggled to pierce the thick veil of ash. For 6 to 10 years, Earth lived under volcanic winter. Temperatures plummeted by as much as 27 degrees Fahrenheit. Rivers shrank, forests died, animals starved. And humans, already fragile, already clinging to existence by their fingernails, found themselves shoved to the edge of extinction.
Some scientists estimate the global human population collapsed to fewer than 3,000 survivors worldwide.
Think about that. Every single person alive today, every country, every language, every culture, descends from a population smaller than a high school. Humanity came terrifyingly close to blinking out forever. Imagine being one of those survivors. You wake up every day in freezing gray light, stomach gnawing with hunger, lungs choking on ash. There's no promise tomorrow will be better, no certainty the sun will ever return. All you have is stubbornness, the raw refusal to quit, even when quitting makes perfect sense.
And somehow that was enough. A handful of desperate humans endured. They carried fire, memory, and hope forward through darkness. And that tiny, fragile line of survivors eventually led to you, sitting here, alive, scrolling on glowing glass, safe enough to complain about traffic and broken phone chargers. Self-development insight. Persistence matters more than certainty. The Toba survivors didn't keep going because they knew things would improve. They kept going because giving up wasn't an option. And that is the essence of resilience, the grit running in your veins right now. And finally, why all of this matters to you today. So let's bring it back to today. You live in a world where hardship means your Amazon package is delayed, where danger means your phone battery hits 1%, where starvation means you skipped lunch because you forgot. Meanwhile, your ancestors faced ice sheets, plagues, Mongol armies, famines, and volcanic winters. That nearly erased the species. And somehow, enough of them made it. They suffered, endured, and survived. Not for themselves, but for the chance that someone, someday, might carry their bloodline forward.
That someone is you. Billions of lives ended so yours could begin. That's your inheritance. You are not fragile. You are not random. You are proof that humanity refuses to die. You are the miracle your ancestors fought mammoths, diseases, and fire-spewing mountains for. And here's the aha moment. If they endured all that, you can endure your Monday meeting. You can endure heartbreak, failure, rejection, and uncertainty. You don't need certainty, you need persistence. And that persistence is already in you, written into your DNA by survivors who should have quit but didn't. So the next time you waste a day scrolling aimlessly, remember this. Someone in your family tree once faced the worst time in history to be born. They carried the torch forward. Now it's in your hands. Don't drop it. This is Barely Evolved. Hit subscribe before natural selection does it for you.